This is a video continuing my garden projects for this year, and I just wanted to share my progress and maybe give you some ideas. There's some planting tips in here too. Some of it's a little all over the place and some of it's out of order, but here we go. In the summertime, when it was 1,000,000,000 degrees, these gaps up here between the roof and the actual wall, we didn't mind because it was hot in there. We were like, we probably don't need to insulate it that much. But yeah, we did. She got scary.
I'm sorry, Abby.
But after losing a few plants, including my avocado tree, we decided to plug them up so we can retain more heat in the greenhouse.
$26.
Okay. That one fits good. This greenhouse is built on a concrete footing. It's about 1 foot wide. So when I built these tables, I made the back legs shorter and then the front legs are longer, and I thought it would balance it out. It really didn't. The tables were really rickety and our electrician hated us for putting those in. Us, it's really me. So I decided to take them off and get these brackets. I used these same brackets in the rabbit pen, and I didn't realize that they can hold up to 1,000 pounds. Doesn't move at all. With the legs, we had to chop them up a little bit and add more braces so that the braces and the brackets we were attaching the table with would line up. So they would line up with these 2x4s and then the bracket here. So I'm gonna have to do some more painting. Much more sturdy. For the potting table, we had to add a couple more braces to the wall, but it looks really good. Oh my gosh, everything looks so much better without legs on it like I had it. I'm gonna have to paint these and touch up paint, get all that ant bed stuff off. So if you haven't seen this, this is an old ice chest that I keep dirt in here to pop things up, but I'm not going to keep it open with a cat in here. This is a brand new window. I have another one in my shop that we can replace that one with maybe, or maybe one of these. These single panes are ugly, so we're replacing those as we find them at antique stores. So yeah, I'm gonna get this rearranged for Abby because we just rearranged her whole world. This grapefruit is her favorite pot to sit in, so I'm gonna move this back. At this point, Abby had been on a 3-day adventure, and I wanted her to come back to a finished look for her little door, and it was bothering me. It was so ugly. Now it's not as ugly. Well, Abby has gone on another adventure. It's been 6 days. So me and Derek are really thinking that she's not coming back. I think something happened and she's no longer with us. This has been here for 6 days. And through the freeze. Poor kitty. We only had her for a couple months, but she never let us pet her or anything really. But she's missed. Hopefully she just found a family. I don't know if I showed me clearing out this area for the walkway to extend it. I put a little bit of, this is no dig edge, and I had that at the house. Actually, Walker helped me pull that up. Down here, I'm removing this down here and taking this rock and putting it up at the front, and then I'll put mulch back here. I'll put my pots back on either side and the decorative part of the windmill. This was my granddaddy's windmill. He got it from Sears, back when Sears was a good company. Or I guess it's not even a company anymore. The winds are too high out here. This is an ornamental windmill, so that it just spun too fast and it broke a couple times. So the tail fin is in my shop. The walkway is now weeded. One more thing off the list. This is what I got done yesterday. I did 7, and it was mainly to hold the landscape fabric down that I put this one down. I'm gonna do probably about 6 more. I've got concrete in the back of the truck, and I'm mixing in a bucket so they think they're getting fed. Better not walk through that gate. Don't do it. This is the suckiest part of the whole thing. This makes me not want to make these concrete blobs. But it's cheap. Alright, it's like 10 hours later probably. You don't want it to run out of the form. And this is the form. I bought this as a kit on Amazon, and I don't regret buying it. People say, oh, you can use a window blind from the like big thick ones that go on like bay windows or something. That's kind of the material. It's vinyl material, and then it comes with some stakes. If I don't want this to go any further, then I put that edge on the last bit of it that I want. Usually I pour this and I can adjust it and make it bigger just by letting out some slack, but I tend to stick with blobs. They're about that big, probably like 2.5 feet in length. I know you can get pigments. I got some pigments, right? Nope, these are still wet. So the next ones are kind of pinkish beige. I wanted it to look like natural rock, but those pigments are expensive, and you see what it did. I mean, the sun just bleaches everything. So then I thought, well, Laura from Garden Answer always puts wood stain on her concrete pots, and that's how she stains them. Well, I did that. You see how well that worked. Our sun is just more intense because we're closer to the equator, so our sun bakes everything. You have to keep in mind that you'll be stepping on these, so I usually keep mine somewhere around 1 inch thick. Okay, after I feel like I've filled it enough, just kind of scooch it to where you want it to go at the thickness you want. You can always add more, or you can make it bigger if you added too much. You can take some out. I'm sure you could use like plastic gloves for this, but I'm just using a glove that I've used before that I don't mind sacrificing. It's hard as a rock, quite literally. And I just kind of bring it out to the edges, see if I want to change the shape or size at all. This is kind of getting a little rounded for my liking. Oops. Okay, so I can just make it bigger here at a point. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to take this up. I don't think the instructions say to take it up for hours, but this is how I've done every single one of my rock blobs, and nobody tells me what to do. I can push out this edge and make it a little more of a bump out. Anytime you make fingerprints in it, you want to just kind of cover it up. And then on the edges, I just make sure to push it, kind of roll it over, just so it doesn't have that harsh concrete edge. So I'm happy with that. That's gonna dry and be just fine. That's how easy it is. If you want to lug concrete around and mix it, it ain't fun. Okay, here's the new one. 3, 6, 9, 12, 14. And here they are the next day with all that rock around them. It's been... I have filled these beds with what I had manure-wise. So I'm happy, because this should only take 2 bags of that compost. And I'm talking about that really cheap compost. I'd rather that settle than all my compost on top. It's kind of to fill in all of the shavings and the rabbit manure I put in the beds. And that's the organic compost I put on top, because it was a better price than garden soil. And let me show you what it looks like. This is that organic compost. So pretty much just like garden soil. It's that decomposed and composted. This is the soil from Lowe's, the garden soil. So it has even bigger chunks of wood in it. So why wouldn't I get something that's $3 cheaper and a little bit more broken down? And I know it works because I've used it before. So to recap, the bottom of my beds I've been using for a few years now, and then I put a bunch of manure from my rabbits and the chickens along with the shavings from the chickens, that cheap timberland compost on top to fill in the gaps, and then this organic compost on the very top. A few weeks ago I did a drip irrigation video. If you haven't seen that, I'll link it down below. Thank you, Cletus. The in-ground portion of my garden is now weeded. For now, it'll start growing again in the spring. I'm starting to bring all my seedlings from the house out to the greenhouse. They're just getting too big, and I have a few seedlings in the house, so I've definitely used up all that space. There's my marigolds for companion planting. Yesterday I brought out my hollyhocks, and I had just up-potted these. I also have my butterfly pea plant, which is trying to climb on everything. And then I'm starting to bring the really leggy tomatoes that need to be up-potted again. These don't look great, but they will recover. Those Hungarian hearts, they grow like crazy. And here's a bunch of them up-potted again, and all of them are out at the farm now. They're getting hardened off too. If it's not too windy, I'll leave some of the windows open and the doors open on the greenhouse. I don't think my avocado made it. And my poor poinsettia almost didn't. Now I also got some strawberries because I'm gonna try to treat strawberries as annuals instead of trying to keep them alive in the heat of the summer. They're only 99 cents at Atwood's, so it just kind of makes sense to do that. I got some everbearing pine berries. I got 6 of them to try those. I've chosen this bed for my strawberries because it gets the most block from the west sun because the greenhouse is right here. So this is where I'm going to plant these. In Texas, it's hard for strawberries, but we will get spring strawberries until it gets really hot. The pine berries that I mentioned are supposed to taste a little bit like pineapple, and I love pineapple. And all the varieties I got this year are ever-bearing, so they're going to be a little bit smaller than the June-bearing, but they will bear longer. I said that it's hard to keep them alive in the summertime, but if you do, sometimes you get fall strawberries as well. I didn't know if I wanted to go ahead and do asparagus again or not, but I did get them. Now my last asparagus, they were always frawny, and the one decent ones, we would get a few decent ones. It'd be like 1 and 2 at a time. Well, that's not enough for a meal, and I don't like them raw, really. I like them grilled. So I got this giant variety, and there's 3 in each, and I got 3 of these packets. These are all 2-year-old crowns, so I think they'll probably have to sit and wait a year before they really put on big spears, but that's what I got. I have a small 2x2 bed here that I had my asparagus in last year, or for the past few years. So I don't know if they'll come up from all the mulch and manure that I put on top of it or what, but they're down there. Another thing I saw at the store like a week ago was kiwis. And so I did some research. There's like 3 different varieties you can get. This one is more of a grape kiwi, and it's smooth skin, so you just eat the whole thing. And it doesn't need, on regular kiwis, there's male plants and female plants, so you have to have 2, and you have to have 1 of each. This one is self-pollinating, so we'll see how it does. It says it doesn't like wind, so that's a problem here. It likes full sun, and it's up to zone 9. So I usually try to make sure my plants are at least a zone ahead of us, because a zone 8 in North Carolina, for example, is not a zone 8 in Texas or Florida, if there's a zone 8 in Florida. Our sun is just a little more intense, and compared to other places in the country, we don't have the cool down at nighttime. We maybe have a 15-degree difference. So it could be 100 stupid in the morning, and then at night it's 80-something degrees. So we'll see how this does, but it's supposed to be a really fast-growing vine, so we'll see. I still don't know where on earth I'm going to put this kiwi. I had a plan, and then I put grapes there, so we'll see where it ends up. It already has good roots on it. Also, you know when you can't turn your brain off at nighttime? I kept thinking about this freaking kiwi and could not sleep, because apparently I'm obsessed with a fruit that I don't even consider one of my favorites. Alyssum is something I have growing all over my garden. You kind of can't get rid of it after you plant it, but who cares? This year I got an Aphrodite mix. I got gold dust last year, but I think I planted it a little too late. Could come up this year. You'll never have to plant this again, but I'm going to plant some in this pot right here because it's empty. And why not? That means I don't have to buy a plant to go in there. Now, will I still do that? Probably. Now, this is all that was in that packet. I think seed companies are getting a little crazier with their seeds. But here in Texas, this plant will bloom all the time. Other than like freezing temperatures that hardly ever happen here, this is gonna bloom all the time. It's surface sown, so just have at it. That's it. Now I'm gonna water. What are we doing here? We're gonna have another mini orchard, because we have found having an orchard way out there where we have no water is almost impossible to keep up. And our crop pile is going to be moved for about the 80th time. We'll put a gate, a 6-foot gate here, so we can get in here and mow. This auger has come in handy too many times. It's a lot easier to move than the one on the tractor. Here's the corner post. And then 2 T-posts in between these wooden posts. Got the Bronco pulling the fence. And Derek's gonna start stapling. I'm holding it against the fence. It's so tight that I gotta hold it down here. Got our fence inspectors here helping me. This is that day that those crazy high winds came through. Luckily, we didn't lose any trees like that. We were planning on staggering these trees, but I already had one in the goat pen, so we kind of had to work around that. This is a fig. It's called Phenomenal. It's supposed to be a potted variety, and it sent crazy roots even past my weed fabric, so it had to go in the ground. Just make sure to rough up the roots. That way they lose the memory of being in a pot, and they can seek out water from other places in your ground and become really established. I've learned a phrase from 𝐥𝐢𝐤𝐞: plant them low and they won't grow, plant them high and they won't die. I planted these a little bit higher than surface level, probably an inch. You can do more than that. That way the roots aren't sitting in water in the springtime. We have a lot of clay, so you won't get root rot. Alright, here's the new orchard. We have a fig, 2 plums in bloom. Nectarine, 2 nectarines, and then 1, 2, 3 apricots. I have plenty more on my to-do list, and I keep thinking of more things, so make sure you subscribe. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe. I upload Wednesdays and Sundays, and you can keep watching us grow our farm. Have a good one.